Hello everyone, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Today we're going to be going over the upcoming character banners, rerun banners, and possible banners that are coming to Genshin Impact in 2.3 and beyond. We're going to be going over both the new 5 stars and 4 stars that are going to be coming to the game soon, which characters are most likely to get a rerun next, and lastly we'll be going over characters that might be coming to the game within the next few months. While only 4 of these characters have officially been stated by miHoYo to be coming to Genshin Impact within the next patch cycle, by looking at past trends of when characters dropped as well as the rumors that are currently floating around about certain characters, we can start to make a few educated guesses on when characters are going to appear next. Just keep in mind to take this with a grain of salt, considering that miHoYo likes to throw curveballs at us by switching up the order of reruns and giving reruns to characters that don't currently need them. Yeah, that's right, I'm looking at you, child. But as we know, knowledge is power, so hopefully having a little more foresight will help you plan and choose which characters you want to secure for your account. If you do find this video helpful at all, please feel free to leave me a like and comment down below with who you're planning on summoning for. I'm really curious to see who everyone's gunning for and who's most popular right now. And if you want to see more Genshin Impact content from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. We just recently hit 13,000 subscribers on this account, and if you want to help me make it to 15, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Alright, but with all that said, let's jump into the video. So as we're recording, Tartaglia is currently having his second rerun banner, but as soon as he leaves, we're going to be getting a rerun banner that we've all been waiting for a very long time, Hu Tao. Ever since Hu Tao was originally released, she's been setting the community on fire, considering that she's not only one of the strongest pyro DPSs in the game, but one of the strongest characters in the game, period. In terms of raw on-field pyro damage, she is unmatched currently. While characters like Diluc, Yoimiya, and Klee can all deal a decent amount of damage, Hu Tao just deals so much pyro damage so quickly that she usually leaves everyone else in the dust. And while Xiangling is one of the best pyro DPS in the game off-field, she does struggle to deal damage while on-field and is better suited for a sub-DPS role. Therefore, if you're strictly looking for raw power while on the field, then Hu Tao is probably your best bet in terms of pyro. However, despite absolutely adoring this character personally, there are a few warnings that I want to give before you decide to summon for her. 1, Hu Tao gets the majority of her power by sacrificing her HP, meaning you have to be comfortable at playing at low HP while using her as your main DPS. And while yes, her burst will heal you if you do manage to hit enemies, and her HP threshold being way higher than your typical characters, this could end up being very stressful for players that tend to get hit often or like to have their HP full at all times. 2, while Hu Tao is an excellent damage dealer even at C0, you're either going to have to learn how to charge attack cancel or go for her C1. This isn't necessary to play her if you are a casual player, but if you are a min-maxer, then these are things to consider. If you still need more information about Hu Tao, I actually made an entire video on her not too long ago, so feel free to check that out. I'll leave a link up above and down below. And of course, since we talked about Hu Tao, we should also talk about the new 4-star that will be appearing alongside her. Yes, that's right, our favorite Inazuma tour guide, Tohma, is going to be playable in patch 2.2. And funnily enough, just like Hu Tao, he's going to be a pyro polearm user who scales off HP. However, instead of being focused on dealing damage, he's going to be more of a support character utilizing shields. It's sad to say, but it looks like he's going to outright power creep Xinyan in terms of being a pyro shielder, considering that he doesn't have split scaling, or rather his split scaling isn't nearly as drastic. He should be relatively easy to build, focusing primarily on HP stats, pyro bonus damage, and energy recharge. Tohma is actually going to be a very welcome addition to the game, considering that so many teams want Diona or Zhongli on them, and this will make sure that you can free them up for whatever team comp that you want them by substituting Tohma. On top of this, it'll also be nice to get that extra pyro resonance if you slot him into a pyro team, and while his off-field pyro application may not be as consistent as Xiangling's or characters like Xingqiu or Fischl with their respective elements, an additional vaporize or melt here and there is nothing to sneeze at. This paired with the fact that he is paired up with Hu Tao on this banner, who does prefer shielders instead of healers, and the fact that he won't mess up her valuable vape hits makes him a valuable asset to any Hu Tao team and frees up Zhongli for your other team comps. Alright, and with 2.2 out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about 2.3. Let's go over what has been officially stated by miHoYo first, and then we'll move on to who is speculated to be the other rate-up 5-star character. So as of recording, the next characters that we can expect in 2.3 are going to be Gorou and Itto. 2.3 will actually be the debut for both of these characters, and it looks like we're going to be getting a huge whopping dose of Geo Supremacy. While I can't get into too much detail revolving their kits and rarity since miHoYo has not given this information out officially, we can go over what has been speculated by the community. It is speculated that Gorou will be a Geo 4-star bow user that will support his teammates by boosting their defense. And as for Itto, it's speculated that Itto will be our next rate up 5-star character in Inazuma, and that he will be a Geo Claymore user that scales off defense. If these speculations are accurate, it means that these two characters are going to have excellent synergy together, and I really hope that that means that they'll be on the same banner. These two characters are especially exciting to see because they are Geo, and we haven't had a new Geo character since Albedo all the way back in 1.2. Actually, believe it or not, since launch we've only had 4 Geo characters to date. That's right, only 4. Unlike elements like Pyro and Cryo, which have been getting the golden treatment from MiHoYo, Geo has been left to rot with only 4 characters since launch. This is why it's so exciting to see 2 brand new Geo characters, because it finally offers more team comp options, as well as our very first 5-star DPS Geo character. And if the rumors are true about both of these characters scaling off defense, then this could signal a huge shift in the meta, similar to how HP, Elemental Mastery, and Energy Recharge have all been more valuable stats as of the last couple patches. Okay, but besides Itto, who's going to be the other rate-up character in patch 2.3? Well, as of recording, it has not been officially stated by MiHoYo, however, there is a lot of speculation and even some evidence towards it being Albedo. Again, take this with a grain of salt, but there has been a lot of talk about us returning to Dragonspine, and guess what? That's exactly where we first met Albedo. Also, if we do look back chronologically, the next character that should be getting a rate up in Rerun is Albedo. The last time that we saw Albedo was all the way back when he was originally launched back in 1.2, meaning the last time he was on rate up was all the way back in December of last year. This is an incredibly long time for a character not to have a rerun, and so he should be next in line. This paired with the fact that defense seems to be the main focus of 2.3 really makes it believable that Albedo will be the next rerun. While Albedo does technically have split scaling between attack and defense, he primarily focuses on defense. In fact, most people that play Albedo completely ignore his attack stat and primarily funnel everything into defense so that he can get the most out of his skill. It also does make sense for Albedo to be dropping because he might actually be one of the best support units besides Gorou for Itto. Yes, this would mean that we would get 2 back-to-back Geo characters, but remember that this has already happened all the way back with Zhongli, because all the way back in 1.1 and 1.2, Zhongli was dropped and then Albedo was dropped right after. So that means that it's not completely outside the realm of reason. And while Albedo didn't have the best sales when he was first introduced to the game, he is actually considered to be one of the best support units in the game. He's able to deal consistent and significant damage while off-field while using his elemental skill, and while his burst may not deal a lot of damage, it does transfer elemental mastery to your entire team, which helps with elemental reactions. On top of this, when you use elemental reactions with him and he provides crystallize, you can shield your entire team. And since his defense is so high, all of these shields should be extremely strong. All in all, I think that Albedo is one of the most overlooked 5-stars in the game, and while he might not be as hyped as characters like Hu Tao, Ganyu, and Xiao, he's still a welcome addition to any team. And while we're on the topic of reruns, there are actually 2 characters besides Hu Tao and Albedo that desperately need a rerun: Ganyu and Xiao. But the big question that everyone seems to be asking is, when are they going to be getting their reruns? This is where things start to get a little bit hazy, but if we're going by chronological order, the next character to get a rerun should be Ganyu. Originally, Ganyu was released in 1.2 directly after Albedo, and upon her release, she forever changed the face of Genshin Impact. Everyone expected Ganyu to only be a supportive type character, but she blew us away with her massive amounts of DPS potential. Ganyu actually straight up power creeped most characters in the game when she first released, and is still considered to be one of the top DPS characters in the game to date. And if I'm being completely honest, she completely deserves it. Not only is she able to deal out a massive amount of damage with her Frostflake arrows, but she's also able to taunt enemies with her skill, and her burst has an absolutely massive AoE which constantly applies cryo and deals damage while boosting all cryo damage within the field, essentially making Ganyu a main DPS and support character at the exact same time. However, while I could praise Ganyu all day, there is something very important to consider if you're planning on summoning for her. Ganyu gets the majority of her damage from her charged attacks, which means that you have to be comfortable using a bow character and pointing and shooting. While this might not be a problem for some players, many players may struggle with this, especially if you're playing on mobile. And while Ganyu probably is one of the most friendly in terms of aiming and shooting, considering the AoE of her Frostflake arrows, if you don't like the aim and shoot playstyle, then she may not be the character for you. Ultimately, I think it's going to come down to playstyle preference and what you personally want for your account. As for when she is going to release, I think that it is most likely that she'll appear in 2.4. While it is possible that Ganyu could be reran at a later date, I think it's most likely that it's going to be 2.4, considering that it will start to be the winter season. 2.4 should be overlapping with the months of December and January, meaning that her rerun would be exactly 1 year from when she first released. On top of this, the reason why I don't believe that she would be coming in 2.5 is because I think the likely contender for 2.5 rerun would probably be Xiao. And why do I say this? Primarily because it will also be a year since he originally released, the fact that it will be Chinese New Year's around that time, and the fact that his designated event, the Lantern Rite Festival, will also be appearing around that time. Something tells me that miHoYo won't wait well over a year in order to rerun both Ganyu and Xiao, so this seems to be the most likely turn of events. As for whether or not you should summon for Xiao, that's an interesting one. Xiao is undeniably one of the best DPS characters in the entire game, and since he's a Nemo, he pairs well against most enemies in the game and is pretty flexible in terms of team builds. However, that being said, he is also probably the single most selfish DPS in the entire game. Not only can he only deal damage when on field, but he can't actually provide anything to his teammates even through passives. On top of this, Xiao is what I would definitely consider to be a glass cannon, and unlike Hu Tao, who can actually heal herself through her burst, Xiao just consistently takes damage whenever he utilizes his burst. This means that having a healer character is an absolute must, and it's strongly recommended that you have a decent shielder. And if your supports aren't properly built, that means that Xiao is going to be taking a lot of damage and probably dying on you a lot of the time. But if you do have him and his teammates properly built, then you're probably going to be able to breeze through content considering his massive amounts of AoE and Nemo damage. I've actually talked about Xiao in the past before, so if you need more info on him, I'll make sure to leave some links above and below for you guys. Alright guys, and now we're going to be moving on into the realm of pure speculation because we don't have very much information on these characters. However, I do know that a lot of people are interested in these two characters in particular, so I wanted to quickly talk about them. First off, let's talk about Yae Miko. If you've made it to Inazuma and have completed the main story, then you've actually had a fair amount of interaction with Yae Miko already. As most players know by now, Yae Miko actually has extremely deep ties to the Raiden Shogun. This originally led me to believe that she should be coming out pretty shortly after the Raiden Shogun. However, she did not appear in 2.2 or 2.3, which actually leads me to believe that she won't be appearing all the way until 2.5 or 2.6. There has been a lot of speculation and rumors about her appearing in 2.5 specifically, but I personally want to interject with the fact that I think that Yae Miko is most likely going to appear whenever the Japanese cherry blossoms start to bloom. This typically happens in March, so it could happen as early as February to March or March to April. Similarly to Xiao, who appeared around Chinese New Year's, and Yoimiya, who appeared around Oban, I think that miHoYo is going to tie Yae Miko to a real-life event. And since she is the head priestess of the Narukami Shrine, which is covered in cherry blossoms, this seems to be the most fitting event for her. I know that a lot of people are anxiously awaiting for her arrival, and that March is a very long time off, but hey, at least this will give you some time to save up those primos. Alright, and that actually brings us to our very last character of the video, Baizhu. Baizu's character model has actually been in the game all the way since Liyue. However, since we found out that he is canonically Dendro, we haven't had him as a playable character because Dendro has not been introduced to Genshin Impact yet. That being said, I do think that Baizhu will be the first rate-up Dendro character that we will ever get in Genshin Impact. The only question is, when will he release? And if I'm being completely honest, I don't expect him to be dropped anytime soon. I think that it would actually be most likely that he won't appear until spring of next year. And there are actually two major reasons why I believe this. One being, since Dendro hasn't been introduced into the game yet, if miHoYo waits all the way till spring, we'll be much closer till the next region, and he can be an introductory character to the element of Dendro. And my second reason, while definitely unsubstantiated, is the fact that if it does release in spring, this will be commonly associated with the time that plants grow. Obviously, we're just gonna have to wait and see, and we don't know how long it's going to take for them to finally introduce Dendro to the game, but if they do, my bet's on Baizhu being our first rate-up 5-star. Alright guys, and that's all for today's video. I hope that you guys found it helpful or interesting. If you did, please feel free to leave me a like and comment down below with who you're planning on saving your primos for. And if you want to see more Genshin Impact videos from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. Like I said, we're actually getting close to 15,000 subscribers, so if you want to help me reach that goal, then I would greatly appreciate it and would love to have you along for the ride. But for now, that's all I have to say. Until next time, best wishes. Bye.